So you want to play some games on your laptop and you need some low-spec titles so it doesn't melt your hardware. We've got this. These are the 7 games you should totally load up onto any laptop in 2023. Playing games on mobile and portable devices is a pretty broad church. On the one hand, high-spec gaming laptops like the ROG Zephyrus series can handle anything that a desktop gaming PC can run, and then some, thanks to smart cooling solutions and god-tier components. But there's also a whole world of lower-spec devices out there, and as much as they might want to run Cyberpunk at 4K, their specs just aren't going to let them. So if you're not the owner of an all-out portable gaming machine like ROG's gaming laptops, we've got a list of titles for you to try. These little numbers don't need hefty hardware specs, but the experiences they offer are just as immersive, competitive, and skillfully made as anything else in PC gaming. There's also a mischievous goose involved, so just putting that out there. Who'd skip that? So plug in your chargers, get on the coffee shop's Wi-Fi, and start downloading these incredible games for laptops. Just before you do though, remember to subscribe to this channel to hear more from us and ding the bell so you don't miss out on our new content when it drops. And hey, a like never goes amiss. Alright, prepare the games. We're starting this list off by name-dropping the Mount Rushmore of low-spec PC gaming: Minecraft, Stardew Valley, Among Us, and Hearthstone. These are the games that everybody knows about and has a 500-hour save file in. But they're also titles we couldn't possibly go a whole video on laptop-friendly gaming without mentioning. And anyway, it's not like you've completed them, is it? You might have seen away the Ender Dragon in Minecraft, but that still leaves about 9 billion other servers to explore. There's also a quest you haven't discovered yet in Stardew, and even though Among Us doesn't have those 2020 player numbers anymore, Blue still looks sus and we should definitely vote them out. Hearthstone's not a new kid on the block, but it's still an enthralling CCG capable of a quick online multiplayer fix that won't get your fans worrying too hard. So before we get onto some games that are further off the beaten path, consider the low-spec gaming Mount Rushmore, name-checked and recommended. Cuphead is what would happen if an early 20th century animation grew sentient and decided its purpose in life was to torment you. It lulls you into a stupor of appreciation with its beautiful, stupefying animations, and then it unties a sack containing every bullet from a bullet hell game and unloads it on you while you're still admiring the way everyone bobs rhythmically up and down in tune with the music. The animation style's inspired by the rubber hose cartoons of the 1930s when newspaper cartoonists were first experimenting with moving media and everything was curved and bouncy like, well, yeah, you get it. The challenge is real though. This run-and-gun platformer is exactly 0% as cute and forgiving as it looks. The boss fight would get an approving nod from Hidetaka Miyazaki, and even getting to them requires Super Meat Boy levels of determination. What it doesn't require though is a monster PC to run it. The specs are required at a Core 2 Duo and a 512MB DirectX 11 GPU, so it's safe on almost any laptop, even older models. Join us as we run headlong into the beach for this next entry, where humanity's staging its last stand against the Vec, one grid space at a time. The retro pixel art visuals might suggest a simple turn-based strategy, but if you know about subset games and their previous work like FTL, you know simple isn't going to enter the equation. Instead, what you get is a massively involving strategic battle that could run on a carrot. These huge, stompy mechs you control all have different weapons and armor loadouts, and there are roguelike elements to the campaign that randomize the conditions of your fights. All of which means every battle gets you thinking a little differently, analyzing enemy moves, getting better at anticipating them, and starting to plan 4 or 5 moves in advance. It's like a game of chess against the Deep Blue supercomputer, except all of humanity is at stake, and instead of a supercomputer, you need 1GB of RAM and Intel HD 3000 integrated graphics. If that last one was all a bit too much thinking and grids for you, we have the perfect counterweight next. Untitled Goose Game. Seriously, when will they come up with a name for this one? We'll never ask you to plan 5 moves ahead or consider the armor array of a giant stompy mech. In the relaxing countryside idylls of pastel-colored England, there are no galactic threats, just a badly behaved bird and some befuddled villagers. Let's just take a minute with it. Ah, that's better. We can feel our heart rates dropping, coziness levels rising, the readout on the wholesome scales going crazy over here, and we can't thank House enough for it. What they lack in the ability to name video games and themselves, they've really made up for by creating the seminal interactive work about being a foul and bullying people. The specs here are incredibly kind to older machines, just a DirectX 10 GPU and 800 megabytes of space. If you can find a lost set of keys in a park, you mischievous avian, we're pretty sure we can find that much. 5 games deep now. It's been far too long since we've pulled a trigger or circle-strafed round something, so let's put that right immediately with a Medieval. A retro shooter that nods to Heretic Hexen and modern-day Doom, as well as similar revival FPS releases like Dusk. Some people call these boomer shooters, but that's only because it takes so long to say fast-paced, stripped-down FPS with elements of 90s game design recontextualized in a way that makes them exciting and reveals something about both our habits as a player and the changing trends within the genre over the last 20 years. See, doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? In a Medieval, you're journeying to vanquish 7 dastardly forces, visiting a far-flung dreamscape and drenching them in blood, all for the greater good. But look, that's not really the point here, this is. What's especially cool about this for laptop gamers is that not only is it a shooter, a rare breed for portable hardware, but it's also really scalable. So even though the minimum specs are low, just an Nvidia GTX 470 or AMD Radeon 6870 HD required, it also has Nvidia's RTX ray tracing enabled. So if you do have a more powerful gaming laptop like the ROG Zephyrus 14 that's capable of running really graphically demanding titles and adding extra ray traced polish on top, you'll get to see the benefits in a Medieval. There's a demo on Steam, so if you are in any doubt about whether your hardware can run it, try that first. And now for one of the greatest PC games of all time, which just happens to be really light on hardware demands and perfect for a long train journey. Disco Elysium picks up the torch from some all-time greats like Baldur's Gate 2 and Planescape Torment, isometric RPGs that told incredibly rich and vivid stories with barely 3 polygons to rub together. Instead, painterly 2D artwork and generationally fantastic writing built each scene, and that's exactly how developer ZA approaches its own story of an alcoholic detective navigating a murder investigation and his own morals. The genius of it all is that you feel a sense of agency in every decision you make, even if that decision is to reach up for your tie at the very beginning of the game, have a heart attack, and die, concluding the shortest ever playthrough in history. You've inherited this ruddy-faced guy and he's definitely a bit banged up.
This was no mere night of drinking. It was a deluge of world-ending proportions.
But the trajectory of his life now that you're in control could go in all sorts of ways. Taking bribes or walking the thin blue line, roughing people up for information, or giving up and going to sing some karaoke. It's all up to you, and it's always a good laugh. Just don't mind the dead body there.
A tragedy.
Quiz time. Where can you find the best RTS gameplay of the 1990s? A rockin' industrial metal soundscape for the ages, and the all-time most ludicrous line reading of the word space. How about you, obviously trying to contain the laughter, Tim Curry?
Space!
If you answered Command & Conquer Remastered Collection, award yourself 50 tanks. In 2020, both the original C&C and Red Alert were given a luxurious remaster that updated everything from the sprites to the cutscene quality. As a result, it's now some of the most fun you can have with a left mouse button and a spare half hour. The specs are once again super light, an Nvidia GeForce GT 420 or ATI Radeon HD 5570. That puts most recent laptops in the frame of being your time capsule back to a simpler time, when wars were won by great swarms of armored vehicles on a field of conflict where dogs presented the absolute biggest threat. Honestly, who needs bullets when man's best friends can tear through infantry like this? So there you go. If you're gaming on the kind of laptop that isn't built for all-out gaming and you need some low-spec games, we hope our 7 picks were useful. If you want more from us on YouTube, hit that sub button and leave us a like to get the algorithm's attention. Follow ASUS ROG on socials for the latest product drops and more. And we'll catch you in another video.